Hey, Miguel Arati back here on the Cage Rage podcast, and we're into our wage rages. And I'm joined by Anthony Scott Pyatt, ASP, and that means we're going to make picks. And we've got the fights on the schedule for this Saturday, April 13th, at the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's the Premier Boxing Champions on Fox Sports 1. And we got a couple of fights. No titles on the line, but some bragging rights out there. Very interesting fights on the card. In the super middleweight division, we got two former world champions, Peter Quillin and Caleb Truax, going at it. And in the middleweight division, Jack Culcay of Germany taking on Sergiy Derevyanchenko. Anthony Scott Pyatt, how you feeling?
Feeling good. Looking at some good fights this weekend. Lomachenko's fighting on Friday, and we're talking about this Saturday show. We've got two of them, Fox Sports 1 and Showtime. So check out all three boxing wage rages that Miguel and I do for you this week. And glad you're joining us. Glad to be with you.
Yep. And you can check out and check some of our back videos. ASP, an incredible record, especially if you eyes a dog. That's what you want to look for here. In terms of the first fight, let's stick with the super middleweights, Caleb Truax and Peter Quillin. Truax went back and forth with James DeGale recently, so he spent some time actually as an IBF world champion. That's a nice feather in his cap, and it shows that he's still fighting at a high level. Peter Quillin was undefeated, and, many people felt he was the cream of the crop at this division, but then he took a first-round knockout at the hands of Daniel Jacobs back in 2015. Since then, we've only seen him twice. He's won 2 fights, but hasn't really, come back and tried to take on a step on the world stage. Quillin, this is his first step back here against Truax. They labeled Quillin the favorite at -210, Truax at +175. With Quillin, I still think there's open questions about his mindset heading into this fight after the wipeout loss to Jacobs. I know it's a long time ago, but sometimes those losses are hard to get over. How do you see this one, ASP?
I think you're touching on something there. I want to point out that Daniel Jacobs is the thread that runs through this fight card. Caleb Truax lost to Daniel Jacobs TKO in round 12, whereas Peter Quillin lost to Daniel Jacobs TKO in round 1. So it is a psychological situation to me. Is Peter really back from it? Does Caleb, even though he's 30-4, whereas Peter Quillin is 34-1, does Caleb feel like, hey, when I step in against the best in the world, I went 12 rounds with Daniel Jacobs. Peter Quillin went 1 round with him. Does that give a little bit of a psychological advantage when you talk about matchups and whatnot, and the type of trouble that Daniel gave Quillin that he did not give to Truax until later in the fight? I see this one as probably a dog watch for Truax. Not a dog pick. Still going to pick Quillin by decision. But there are some questions out there that make me think, especially if you can see this fight at a +200. He's at +175 now. But Peter Quillin's name will probably bring the money in on Peter, hopefully raising the odds for Caleb Truax to maybe a +200. I'd definitely take him at that point.
And that may very well happen. Unfortunately, Truax, a hard worker, but a guy that, many people have written off in the past. And, recently spent time as a world champion means, they've been wrong, basically. So we'll see if the odds spread out here. We'll check again after the weigh-ins. The support fight comes in the middleweight division. They've listed as 12 rounds. Germany's Jack Culcay coming in to take on Sergiy Derevyanchenko. Again, Derevyanchenko, a big favorite at 13-0. Culcay at Derevyanchenko, a big favorite at -1300. And Culcay at +850 on the comeback there. How do you see this one?
It's an interesting fight. Again, that Daniel Jacobs thread. Sergiy Derevyanchenko's only loss was to Daniel Jacobs, a split decision, mind you, in 12. That was the last time Sergiy fought, so he is coming off a loss. This is the story. Peter Quillin is essentially coming off of a loss to Daniel Jacobs. Sergiy Derevyanchenko is coming off a loss, his very last fight, to none other than Daniel Jacobs. Now, again, a split decision. He did the best of the 3 fighters on this card that have fought Daniel. But what has that done to his mindset? 10 knockouts, 12 wins. He's got what it takes. But sometimes these big punchers, when somebody figures out their number, they're a little damaged psychologically, and the other guy now has some film, now has a blueprint, now has a plan on how to beat him. So at plus 850, I really like this as a dog watch. My official pick, Derevyanchenko by decision, but my dog watch, the second out of two tonight, Culcay at plus 850. Too good to pass up there. Maybe there's some questions left unanswered, some psychological stuff. Maybe the big puncher's got a little bit of scare in him now. Maybe we see an upset.
And keep in mind with Jack Culcay, because he's fought most of his career in Germany, a lot of people may not be aware of what he has, but when you look at, what he brings or his level of competition, but when you look at who he's fought and known quantities, Maciej Sulecki out of Poland, tough fighter, lost by unanimous decision. That was the last time that he fought, and lost in 2017. He also took a loss to undefeated Demetrius Andrade. Andrade, a split decision, and Andrade has since captured a world championship. That fight was actually for a world championship. So Andrade, definitely a good measuring stick, one of the top guys. Andrade has some questions in his own right, even though he's undefeated. But it gives you an idea that Culcay can hang at the top level. Derevyanchenko has been, fast-tracked, as many of the Eastern Europeans are, because of his amateur career. And the bottom line is Jacobs is a hell of a fighter, but he did fall short in his last outing, so we'll see how he comes out. At 33 years old, Derevyanchenko has to win today.
Absolutely.
Those are the odds for this weekend's Premier Boxing Champions on Fox Sports 1. You can check your local listings on Saturday night. The live event coming to us from the Armory out in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Hats off to Minnesota. There have been a couple of live cards already this year coming to us from that state, and they're going to become a destination and a fight place. More power to them. This weekend, they bring us Sergiy Derevyanchenko and Jack Culcay and Peter Quillin and Caleb Truax, a couple of Premier Boxing champions, rewarding guys and giving guys fights after they've taken on their frontline guy, Daniel Jacobs. So you're getting a little bit of a B fight card here, but some A-class fight, as guys definitely need to win. I've been joined by our boxing ace, Anthony Scott Pyatt, to look at the fights and the odds and make picks for this weekend.